I'll be remembered, but will you? Bill McDonald's the baddest that I would turn to. CEO with the shit that's a dope motherfucker. He'll always win, there's no going under. The top of the crown resting on his head. The beast is alive, he'll never be dead. If he dreamt before, bring it back to life. Push harder for it, let us survive. Show courage and strength, it's okay to be scared, but don't let it stop you, always stay prepared. Bill showing school, they're just not beginning. Winners fucking win, losers talk about winning.
Welcome to the Bearded Beast Show. My name is Bill, and I am the Bearded Beast. Special episode today with my friend Victor. Victor, you there?
Yes, I'm here. How are you doing, Bill?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good.
All right. Give our listeners a little bit of background about yourself. Why are we having this conversation today?
Well, the reason for this conversation takes me back to 2017. I was really obese. I was over 385 pounds with type 2 diabetes. And my doctor at the time told me in uncertain terms that I needed to do something about this. I needed to take control of the situation. And it's been a journey since that moment on.
So we're going back to 2017. You were 385 pounds, you said. Where are you sitting now?
But right now, I'm 282.
So that's about that's over 100-pound weight loss.
Yes, it's been a journey. It's been like basically what I like to say it is the way I like to say it is being rediscovering myself again.
So when you were told these things back in 2017, did that scare you?
Yes, very much so. And the reason that I decided to take this path was that my doctor had me convinced to do a bariatric surgery. You know, I don't take anything from anybody that shows that route, but when he told me that I needed to lose 10% of that weight before I was even considered a candidate, I told him, well, if I need to lose that, I think I can do it on my own. 6 months later, I had lost my first 45 pounds.
That's fantastic. And I don't hold anything against anybody that's gone that path either, but I think if we can do the first part of it, I think we continue to do the rest.
Exactly. That's what I stand to.
So did you know you had diabetes, or what, did it come as a surprise to you?
No, I knew I had diabetes because at the 5 years before that moment, I felt kind of funny one day, and one of my family members suggested that I check my blood sugar, and it was almost 700.
Oh my God!
And well, from that point on, I was like, okay, well, let's see what happens with this. And what happened was that I was using over 350 units of insulin plus another injectable, and my A1C was well over 12. This was a very scary moment for me.
Wow, sugar over around 700 and your A1C over 12. I would guess. I have type 2 diabetes also. I was diagnosed with it about a year and a half ago. During COVID, I actually had COVID, and I wound up in the hospital with it. I didn't know I had diabetes.
Wow.
And my A1C was 10.8. I've since got it down to about 5.9.
Hey, that's excellent.
It's not easy, but you know, when you get that scare, like I'm sure you had, you got to make a decision to do something.
Exactly.
So, give me a little bit of history about yourself. Are you married? Do you have kids?
Excuse me. Yes, I'm married. I have 4 kids. I'm a disabled veteran, and let me see. I am originally from the town of Loíza in the island of Puerto Rico, and play the sax. And I really are into health and fitness for, I would like to say, different reasons than the average person, in a sense.
So when you got the scare, you knew you have family that relies on you, right?
Yes.
So you knew you had to do something. And you said you were a disabled veteran. What branch of service?
Army.
Well, I thank you for your service. Without people like you, we wouldn't be able to do what we do.
Hey, thanks. It's that was one of have been one of the most defining experiences of my life, and I will do it all over again.
I can't imagine. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to go into the military, and it's something that I never did. But I am blessed to have people like you that have done that for us, or I wouldn't have the freedoms I have to even be able to do a show like this.
It's a matter of belief for me. If you believe in that, if you really have that in you in many different ways, not only about courage or discipline, is something that you can do. I mean, I never thought that I will do it, but here I am.
So you got the scare. What was it that made you decide to start your journey, your fitness journey? Something, I'm sure that what the doctor said to you was a big part of it.
Yes, that was a big part of it. But in my family, we have diabetes and heart disease and all this. And I believe that a life lived with no quality of life is something really, really difficult to do. And I decided for that reason that I needed to make this change.
So you've lost over 100 pounds. So you must be seeing a much different quality of life now than you were then.
Oh yes, definitely. In every aspect. I mean, outlook. Because to tell you the truth, the deepest changes that I have with this are from the inside. It is very, very amazing to me how something that maybe only consider about your physical health has changed my mental health and even my spirituality to a point.
Wow, that's great. So are you still insulin dependent, or have you been able to remove some of those things from your life?
I mean, I am now totally prescription free.
Wow.
No insulin, no pills, nothing.
Do you still check your sugar regularly?
Oh yes. That to me, that's a must.
Wow, that is fantastic that you've been able to get rid of all prescriptions. Wow, that's great.
I mean, at a given point, I was in 3 injectables for the diabetes and like 6 or 7 other prescription medication. And it was like I had to carry a little case with all my pills and my insulin.
Did you have high blood pressure?
Yes.
Do you still take medication for that, or were you able to kind of reverse that too?
No, that got reversed. Right now, my average blood pressure is like 119, 70, something like that.
That's
it's
fantastic.
Really nice.
So it must have taken a lot of discipline to do what you did. I mean, to lose that kind of weight is not easy. So what do you consider is more important, discipline or motivation?
I mean, to me, it's discipline, because motivation will give you the spark. But if you don't add the fuel of discipline to that spark, really is not going to last too long. It's going to start to flicker because when life happens, I'm a family man, I have my kids, and sometimes life gets complicated. And if you don't have the discipline to do what you need to do, when you need to do it, motivation alone is not going to get you there. Perfect example, yesterday. I had planned to go on and do a long run in the morning, but it was my baby girl's birthday. And there I was in the kitchen, baking this cake, doing this and that. But before everything happened yesterday, I went and I put in my work, because to me, that's how discipline works. I couldn't do it in the morning, the way I like to do it. Well, at night, it has to be done.
So you're getting it done regardless of when you got to do it.
Exactly.
And you're doing
to me,
it.
It's always going to be discipline.
I'm sure you're doing it when you don't feel like doing it too, right?
Yes. That's especially true, for example, during the pandemic. I was living outside the U.S. because my wife is from Mexico, and we moved down there. We spent down there 2 years down there in Mexico, and during the pandemic, we were there. Every gym down there was closed, and I was living in Mexicali, Baja California. And sometimes the temperature there gets up to over 110 degrees.
Wow.
So if I wanted to go out and run, I had to do that at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And that's what I did.
And you did it.
Yep.
That's what it takes. You're right. It takes discipline. I mean, motivation, you're right. It gives us the spark to start, maybe. But if we don't stay disciplined, none of it's going to matter. We'll have to remotivate ourselves, and a few days later or a week later or 2 weeks later, and we lost all of that momentum that we had. So I think you're right. Discipline is the most important. What about your diet? What's your diet like?
Well, to tell you the truth, Bill, diet to me is a 4-letter word. What I mean to say with this is, to me, there's no such thing as a diet. I'm all about portion control. I don't believe in certain school of thoughts about limiting or eliminating one whole group of macros or this or that. I believe that you can lose the weight and keep it off while eating reasonably comfortably. What I mean to say with this is, with the portion control part, we know that carbs, especially for us that are diabetic, if you have a surplus of carbs, your blood glucose is going to go up. So we need to be disciplined and constant about, we got to watch ourselves. But really, to me, it's all about that portion control.
But if we're disciplined in the way you talk about, even us diabetics, we can have some of those, right?
Exactly.
I think you're right. I think when you try to get when you try to cut everything out of your life, it kind of like gets a little depressing. And you feel like you can't have anything, and that can give you some, it can cause you to want to give up at some points.
Yes, because it's not enjoyable, it's not sustainable, because the other belief that I really would love to see gone about the fitness and the weight loss school of thoughts is that quote unquote diet food has to taste like cardboard, or you have to be suffering in order for it to be effective.
Yes, you're right. It doesn't have to taste bad, right?
Exactly.
I mean, I've even made some of those zero sugar brownies or whatever that you can buy in the market, and they even taste pretty good.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because what I really want to say is, extremes in any area of life, extremes do not work, and if they work, they do it for very little. And sometimes people are like, no, you can't even think about having a cookie here or there.
Right.
You can never go out and eat at a restaurant again.
Right.
It's not like that.
That's like believing that we're not in shape unless we have a six-pack, right?
Hey, that's another point. Because, I mean, I had people ask me, so, yeah, you do exercise all the time. I see you're posting Facebook, but what is your six-pack? And I tell them, well, for me, it's not for looks.
It's for health.
Looks, yeah, exactly, because if we're going to divide these things into why we do it or why, looks, health, performance, I have to go with health, because if we're healthy, we can perform good. And if we perform good, we're going to look good too.
Right. So if you put health first, you got all three of them, right?
Exactly.
Some people who don't focus on the health, they might look great, but how do we know what's going on the inside?
That's exactly right. And, there's a lot of people that are doing very extreme things to look a certain way, and it's been taking a real big toll in their health.
It is, but it's become unfortunate that we've got a stereotype in society today that that's the way you're supposed to look.
But and that word that you used right there, should. The shoulds is something that will just derail any plan to get better in any area of life. Because if we are to believe that, well, I'm doing this, I should be in this spot now. I should look this way now. I should weigh X amount of pounds. The minute we don't achieve that milestone by the time we believe we should, it's a really dark moment.
No, you're absolutely right. But no, you're right.
Okay.
I mean, anytime we put that word should, or we have an expectation of what somebody should look like, I think we've lost right then. It's funny when people talk to me about, okay, I want to lose a certain amount of weight, or they saw somebody who lost a certain amount of weight. Has anybody ever come up to you and said, hey, Victor, how long did it take?
Oh, yes. A lot of times.
And I think when people start to put like a time frame on it, and you tell them, well, it's not a time thing, it's a lifestyle change. They look at you like, well, wait a minute, I don't have that much time. But if I told you you could lose 100 pounds in 3 months, seems like everybody wants to try it out.
Well, I mean, and I'm not going to mention this person, because he's a public figure, this, that, but I don't know how those things work. But there's a person out there that he's very, very famous, and I look up to him in a lot of ways. And he precisely lost 100 pounds in 3 months. Doable? Yes. Advisable or healthy? I think we both know the answer to that.
Yeah, I would believe that whatever you're possibly doing to obtain that's just not sustainable.
Exactly, because it's all about sustainability. Because I can, for example, Saturdays is my either long run or a heavy weight workout. And I try to do it consistently, but I cannot train the other 3 to 4 days I train. I can train like I train Saturday all the time because it's not sustainable. And I'm going to end up either hating it, injuring myself, or just saying I'm not good enough. I can't do it.
So you mentioned weights and running. So when you talk about weight loss, do you think cardio's more effective or weights, or do you need a combination of both?
To me, it's going to be answer C, a combination of both. Because that's other thing that is making the rounds on the internet. Especially places like Facebook with the fitness and the fitness groups, the nutrition groups, this, that. There's a big debate of how you should lose your weight. People, you cannot cardio your weight off. And if we think about it, which one you lose more calories per session? Cardio. Now, to sustain your metabolic rate, you need more muscle. So you also need weights. And that's what has worked for me so far. So to me, it's a combination of both.
So do you work out every day? Do you have certain days you work out, certain days you do certain things?
Well, I work out 6 days a week, but different things. For example, I can do cardio one day or cardio and weights that day. The other day, I can do conditioning or mobility, or I can just go for a very long walk, 5, 6, 7 miles, or I can go run outside. It all depends. I like to keep it. I like to keep a variety in it, so it doesn't become a routine and boring.
Right. So you've even found success with walking.
Oh yes, that was the first thing I started doing back then. I decided, well, I'm gonna go walk for 2 miles to see how I am. At 385 pounds, I could only walk 1 mile, and it took me over 45 minutes. That's when I realized how far gone I was at the point.
So, I think we all have at least 15, 20 minutes a day. We can at least get a walk in, right?
Yes, because that's one of the things that I always like to tell people. You don't have to be a slave to the track or to the gym. You just can walk for half an hour, and not all at once to begin with. Do 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening. And from there, you can build up on what you do. But the main thing is that what doesn't get started doesn't get finished.
You're 100% correct. So we can't put the excuse out there that we don't have the time or we don't have a gym membership, right?
We don't need the gym, really. with just our bodies and a little bit of space, we can do really, really good things with in that direction. There's a lot of things you can do, like calisthenics. That word that is really mentionable sometimes, burpees. You know, all these kind of things you don't you can do them in your living room. You know, and it's really good.
What about dietary supplements? You take any? What's your take on them?
Okay, dietary supplements. I mainly take like whey protein powder, creatine, and sometimes glutamine to aid recovery. Because this year I'm going to be 50 years old, so I need a little bit of help with my recovery. But a lot of things that are out there are just, to me, my very personal opinion, really unnecessary. I'm not going to say completely useless because I'm not a PhD on anything, but are really unnecessary. And it's just a lot of hype about buy this, get this result. For us males, especially the so-called testosterone boosters, this, that, no. That really, you don't need that.
I agree. It's become $1 billion industry, and everybody thinks you can just take one of those pills. You're going to wake up a different person, right?
Yeah, and it's not going to happen. There's no magic pills around here.
You got to do the work. You got to stay disciplined
Exactly.
and do the work.
Yep. The only way to get to the other side and to the goal that we have when it comes to fitness and weight loss is through work, through discipline, and through an understanding on what our problem is. So because before you conquer the monster, you got to know its face.
When you that is absolutely correct. I love what you just said right there. So when you first started out, did you make like a food journal? Did you keep track of what you were eating?
Yeah, that's another point. Tracking your intake. So far, I still do that, and if I have the occasional cheat meal or the occasional beer here and there, I even log it because that tells you. I mean, that tells me how I'm doing. Because we cannot outrun a fork. We cannot outtrain a bad diet. If you are taking a surplus of calories, so if you're eating junk food on the regular, and you see the scale is not moving, well, you go to your journal, and if you're honest with yourself, you're going to see what you need to do to correct that.
Yeah, I think that's very important that we at least start something, right? We track what we're doing and see what the progress is, because it, like you said, if you're not seeing progress, you can go back and look at what you were doing and say that, and maybe you need to change something up.
Exactly.
Do you think everyone can achieve and maintain? Now, maintain's important, right? Because I think we can all lose weight, but can we maintain that weight loss?
Yes, I firmly believe that anybody can do this because the weight loss part, I mean, when I think back when I was 385 pounds, those first 6, 7, 8 months, the weight just seemed to come off like effortlessly. I was like, okay, I go to the gym or I go walk a bit. I'm eating this and that, and the weight kept getting off easily. Okay, cool. Now, I have gotten to a point now that it's my aim to lose at least between 30 and 35 more pounds and to maintain it. But currently, I had not regained weight in the last, 2 years? And the maintenance part is where most people fail. Because when people lose weight, according to statistics, like within 6 months, they regain it and then some. And maintenance is a different animal, but we need to master it in order to keep the weight off and keep being healthy. And that comes in a variety of forms, but I know that the time is limited, but it can be done. I believe it can be done.
Now, do you go by like 3 meals a day, 6 small meals a day? Do you say there's a certain time, at night or the evening that you're not going to eat after?
Okay. Regarding stuff like that, I go mainly by 3 meals, maybe if I feel I need it. like a snack between meals, but I tend not to snack between meals. It's something that I avoid because before that was one of my main problems. I was eating the whole day. And after, I try not to eat after 7 o'clock at night because, well, to me, eating at night is not good. Uh, um, let's just say that it's part of an old pattern that I used to have, like sitting in front of the TV with a bag of chips. So I avoid that, not to fall on the same type of train of thought or behaviors.
So you've changed up some of your other habits too, right? So, all right. So if you used to sit in front of a TV with a bag of chips at night, do you do something different now? Have you changed your bedtime at all? Do you get more sleep?
I try to get more sleep, and I say try because I'm going to be completely honest here. I don't sleep as much as I should, as I need to, because, well, for example, I was since I'm a disabled veteran, I was in a lot of medications for things like sleep and that kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
I've been off those medications too for the last 3-4 years, and it has been very beneficial to my body, but my sleep patterns are all over the place. But the thing that I do different is if I'm going to eat my meals, I do not eat in front of the TV. I do not eat if I'm on the phone or doing something different. Why? Because this is going to sound kind of corny, but here it goes. You have to be mindful when you're eating. You need to know that what you're doing. You need to let your body, your brain know, hey, we having this thing here, we eating this. And when at least me, when I focus on that and be mindful of what that I'm eating, sometimes there's still food left on my plate, and I know I'm full. But if you're just mindlessly eating in front of the TV, having a conversation on the phone, or trying to do 3 different things at the same time, before you know it, you have inhaled the food, and your brain doesn't even register that you're full, and you keep eating, and well, that happened to me for a long, long time.
Wow, that's extremely, extremely important. I love what you were talking about there because I think you're right. I do the same thing. I'll sit in front of the TV and eat, and before I know it, the food's gone on my plate, and maybe I didn't need to eat it all.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm a kid from the '70s, so I was part of the clean plate club.
Well, we're
And,
almost the same age, Victor. So I already know what it's like to be 50. I turned 50 last year, so I'm heading to 51. But you'll enjoy it when you get there. So don't worry.
Hey, I mean, I have been enjoying this since I started this. A lot of changes have come in my life, in my body, this, that. And to tell you the truth, it's enjoyable, but at the same time, it's like, wait a minute, I remember I could. And then it's in a lot of areas. It's crazy.
Yeah, but you know what? All right, let's go back to the 385-pound Victor for a second. How did that Victor feel? There. Did he avoid mirrors? Did he avoid wearing certain type of clothes? Were there things that he just was not comfortable with?
Okay, he avoided a lot of things. He avoided like a certain type of clothes, mirrors, and he's always been a little bit of a flamboyant personality. But he avoided certain type of clothes. He dreaded the prospect of flying. Because, fitting 385 pounds.
So you weren't like running to amusement parks, right?
No, I mean, that was one of the things that I really missed the most. When I lost my first 80-something pounds, that's one of the first things I did. Went into a roller coaster.
That's great.
At that point, I had not been on a roller coaster for around 15 years.
Wow. What about photographs? Did you avoid getting your picture taken?
No, I had a lot of pictures because, I always like to take pictures of me and my kids, my family. But when I go back to those pictures and I look at myself, it's not only the sheer difference in size from that Victor to this Victor, is the expression on my face.
Ah, the Victor's a lot more happy now, right?
Yes, yes, and one of the best things about that is that 385-pound Victor avoided doing things around the house like the plague, things that we as males are expected to do in a sense. And me thinking about, for example, fixing a leaky toilet, changing a faucet, a garbage disposal, things that you are like, if you're a little bit handy, you can do them.
Mm-hmm.
I avoided doing that because I had to get in the floor or get into tight spaces. And when you're that big, you're going to look for any excuse you can not to do it.
Right. So the weight loss for you, it's changed your health, but it's also like changed your mental health too, right? So you don't run away from those things now. You can't wait to get on a roller coaster. You're doing the things that you avoided.
Exactly.
And I think that's important for people to understand is that I agree. I'd been heavier in my life and there was things that I avoided too. And sometimes when you look back on it, you wish you didn't because you didn't make those memories. But, once you feel better about yourself, everything else kind of come into play and comes into alignment. So not only did it help your health wise, but it's also helped your mental health a little bit.
Yes, and to me, that's the most important thing because from a stance of always looking for excuses or not doing things just because I feel a certain way, I know that I can do these things and has given me a renewed confidence on myself. And that's something that you can't buy anywhere.
So this is a perfect lead into our last question. What would you tell a 25-year-old version of Victor? You've been through everything that you know now. What advice would you give him if you could go back and tell him everything you've been through? What advice would you tell him so that he didn't take that path that you did?
Just 2 words. Slow down.
Wow.
Why? Because, I'm going to be 50 this year. And if I will encounter myself 25 years ago, I will tell that Victor, hey, kiddo, slow down. Life is not about who gets there fastest. Life is not about who gets there first. It's about who gets there by doing the things you're supposed to do so you can be successful, enjoy your life, and not wreck yourself in the process.
I love that advice. So it's a marathon, not a race, right?
Exactly. That expression summarizes exactly everything I would have told my 25-year-old self.
That's perfect. Victor, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with us. I enjoy talking to you. I'd like to have you back on if you're interested.
Oh, yes. Anytime.
I think maybe we should get you on monthly and we can update people on your progress. We can share some more of your story with them. We can give them some health tips, some fitness tips if you're up for it.
Yes, I'm up for that. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, my friend, and I'll send you some scheduling information where we can get you on once a month. How's that sound?
That sounds perfect, man.
All right. I'll be in touch. Thank you so much, Victor.
Okay. Thank you, Bill.
I'll be remembered, but will you? Bill McDonald's the baddest that I would turn to. CEO with the shit that's a dope motherfucker. He'll always win, there's no going under. The top of the crown resting on his head. The beast is alive, he'll never be dead. If he dreamt before, bring it back to life. Push harder for it, let us survive. Show courage and strength, it's okay to be scared, but don't let it stop you, always stay prepared. Bill Showman School, they're just not beginning. Winners fucking win, losers talk about winning.